Hello, this is Giselle Gamby, business and life coach and proud host of the Intuitive Pull podcast. We're now pivoting to season 4 with an invitation to raise the stakes. I know I was made to remind people to raise the stakes, to seize, to claim, and execute the vision that you've intuitively seen, and to never accept the crumbs. What would it mean if you raised the stakes in your own life? What would you say yes to? And what would you say an undeniable no to? Be inspired, be agitated, be activated, and most of all, hold this truth, that when you raise the stakes, the quantum field will show you dreams you didn't even know you had. Hello, Intuitive Pull community. I am now back from Switzerland and France, where I recorded my last episode, Completions and Beginnings, which was quite a raw episode as I was very present to the reason why I actually went to Switzerland and France, which was to take my 90-year-old mum back for the last time. I mean, we can never say never, but more than likely it is for the last time. And it's always quite amazing leaving our regular habitual life and going away, and the perspective that we have available to us because we're away from our normal regular life. It always is quite remarkable. And I'm going to speak to something at the end of this episode as to what I became aware of, because I could see myself more clearly because I was away from my identity here back at home. It's the reason why I love facilitating overseas retreats so much, because it gives you that sense of separation in a good way, like that distance. It allows you to see with fresh eyes. It allows you to get honest, actually, really honest. So I'll speak to that at the end of the episode. But before I get into this particular episode, I want to remind you about the new program that I'm so excited about facilitating, called My Best Year Yet. I want to say thank you. Thank you to the people who have already enrolled, made the most of the pre-sale fee. I want to say thank you to the people who have registered for the masterclass on the 25th to the 27th of September at 11 a.m. for an hour, Sydney time. And for those who don't know about it, for those who have heard about it but haven't moved yet, I want to say this. This program, I have such a knowing about. I have such a knowing about the power of this program. This program was born through the realization that the notes to self that I write almost every day, which have informed my leadership of self, which have informed the way that I turn up in my leadership of others, which have shown me blind spots and thresholds, which have allowed me to acknowledge my humanity, which have allowed me to connect with the greater version of me, which have allowed me to move past thresholds, take the lid off my capacity, which have created such an availability within me because my love, my capacity to love has grown so much. My notes to self, they inform me every day. They have me move every day. They have me have conversations every day. They show me new programs such as this, such as last year, the first time I saw the Sacred Leaders program, and we're now in the second cohort of it. They provide the most divine, high vibe, resonant seeing and movement. And when I saw that my notes to self were not just for me. The value of them were not just for me and the people that I'm in service to. But when I saw that these notes of self are a practice for other people, and that I could hold a year-long, let's call it like a writing retreat, where people are committed to that level of presence, to that level of service to themselves and to others through the medium of writing, when I saw that and I saw how amazing it would be to hold that in a group container where I get to share where I have been over the last 2 years. I have a map. I have a map to taking you into the untapped abundance of who you already are and the untapped abundance of who you are becoming. I have a map to you experiencing your best year yet. The other day, I had a big, strong feeling, energy in my tummy, just 2 days ago, in fact. And I know the gravity of this feeling. I know it wants to tell me something. And so I had some space and I closed my eyes and I meditated. And I had my laptop next to me. And as I presenced this energy and as I started typing out what this energy was telling me, I heard the word unforgettable. Now just be with that word, the energy of unforgettable. That's what my best year yet is in service to a moment in time that is unforgettable, to a moment in time where we are taking a punt on the realities that are available, the experiences that are available, the creations that are available, the infinite possibilities that are available. I have in my body, coursing through me, such an intuitive pull at the moment. I want to experience more of what is possible. What I have experienced so far in my own life and in the life of the clients that I get to walk with and witness is so much greater than I ever could have imagined. And we bend reality all the time. We bend reality all the time. And I want to experience more of that. I'm so grateful for how we have bended reality in families and relationships and health, cancer, autoimmune diseases, financial realities, relationships that have come back together, even relationships that have completed in love, businesses that have been formed, purpose that has been informed, books that have been written, screenplay that has been written. I want to experience even more of what is possible. And that's what this program, My Best Year Yet, is in service to. It's a profound experience, inside and out. And for the people who join me on this program, if they absolutely give themselves over to this process, I promise that in 1 year's time, they will not recognize themselves or their life, because it will have been one that has become unforgettable. Pre-sale fee is currently available now. It will close on the 24th of September, the day before the masterclass. Then the fee rises. Please take advantage of the pre-sale fee if you know that you are pulled by that invitation for the following year to be unforgettable. And if you're not ready to commit yet and you want to know more, well, come to the masterclass. 11 a.m. for 1 hour, the 25th, 26th, and 27th of September on Zoom. And you can register for that masterclass. And I promise that masterclass, I'm going to give everything to that masterclass. I promise, if you, again, I can't do this for you, if you give yourself over to the process, if you really show up, that masterclass is going to do some pretty amazing things in your life, even if you attend that alone. So jump in. Now, what I want to speak to you about today, I have a strong feeling is going to have a ripple into your world. And I'm just going to start by asking you to become present to these questions. Maybe they're resonant for you, maybe they're not. Maybe they're resonant for you now, maybe they'll be resonant for you in the future, or they have been in the past. So the questions are this. Can you identify a moment where you felt like you were derailed? Can you identify a moment where you feel like you had the rug pulled from underneath you? Can you identify a moment where you were knocked to the ground? It may have been an internal experience, or it may have not only been an internal experience, but an external reality in what you were experiencing. And you still don't know why. Why did that happen? Why did I get knocked to the ground? Why was I derailed? Why am I not experiencing what I used to experiencing? Why am I not in the flow like I once was? Why do I not feel as powerful as I once did? So be with those questions, even if you need to pause this for a moment. And now I want to share an experience that I had with a client this week, and then I'm going to talk about my experience. So I have spoken about this beautiful, beautiful woman. We're just going to call her Elle. It's the beginning of her name. And Elle came to me about 4 or 5 months ago. She'd been diagnosed with stage 4, largely incurable breast cancer. And then 2 months after being diagnosed with largely incurable cancer, she became cancer-free. No cancer in her body. Total resolution. I spoke about that in a previous episode. We've been raising the stakes and we have been bending reality. And we've been seeing through the eyes of the butterfly. You'll need to go back to that episode. I believe it was called Raising the Stakes. I caught up with her this week, and one of the things that had happened in addition to the most remarkable result of being cancer-free when she had been told it was largely incurable, being stage 4, was that her real estate business was positively impacted. Her real estate business had had an increase of 50% revenue for over a 4-month period. And what's quite curious is that she and her husband had actually taken a step back because she wanted to focus on her healing. And yet it had a 50% increase in revenue. They were bringing in regularly for 4 months, $20 million worth of revenue. I caught up with her this week and she said to me, I'm really worried about the business. The listings haven't been happening. And I had a really strong feeling I knew why. And so I asked her to timeline this out. Now, about 5 weeks ago, she went to her regular health checkup and she didn't see her regular oncologist. Instead, she saw a junior oncologist. And the junior oncologist said something to the effect of, you will always have cancer in your life. You will always have cancer in your life. Now that totally derailed her. For the next 4 weeks, she was in a lot of fear. She was actually pummeled, really, by fear. And we have been patiently working through that fear. And about a few weeks ago, she became free of that fear. And the major lesson from that experience was, first of all, words have bloody power. That one statement that junior oncologist said, that you will always have cancer in your life, even though she is cancer-free, took her out of her faith, which is actually the major reason why she is cancer-free, and really lowered her vibe. And so the lesson was not only that words have power, but we can't know faith without fear. In this world of relativity and contrast, we can't know faith without fear. And so it was a bloody hard lesson to know that. And she is now in appreciation of that experience because she now stands stronger in her faith. So timelining out the drop in revenue, as I said, I had a strong feeling I had already spotted what the cause of the drop in revenue was, because guess when the drop in revenue started? 5 weeks ago, when the junior oncologist told her that she would always have cancer in her life. So just as her agency and her personal responsibility and her faith and her ability to be intuitively led to all the perfect support created a result where she was cancer-free, that energy had positive ripples into her business, even though she'd taken a step back from her business, and so had her husband. So just as those positive ripples happened into her business, so did the fear-based ripples roll out into her business. I know what's going to happen now because we've seen that. The next time I speak to her, I'm sure she's going to say to me, guess what? Listings have come back again, because that's how energy works. Energy informs matter. So what a powerful experience to have, the ripples of fear and the ripples of faith, and how in order to really appreciate faith, we also have to experience fear. Now, I want to talk about my experience. And the ability to have that experience was because I was not at home. I was not in my regular environment. I actually, if I look at it even more deeply, the reason why I went to Switzerland and France was to take my 90-year-old mum back for the last time. Now, it was an amazing, amazing, amazing experience. And it was also one where I was absolutely out of my head most of the time. And I was very much connected to my emotions. Mum and I and Joel, my son, we laughed so hard, especially Mum and I. We laughed so hard sometimes that we actually wet our pants. And we also cried. Mum coming into acceptance that more than likely this was her last time, and the last time she'd see her Switzerland, the last time she'd see my nephew, who through his disability will not be able to come to Australia. There were some emotional moments that, you know, I was sitting with mum and she was crying, and I cried with her. I cried with her. And yeah, my rawness was there. And I feel it's because my rawness was there in that emotional experience that I had really over 2 weeks, and also a lot of joy, by the way, too, that there was a vulnerability that allowed me to go and see something that was a blind spot, another blind spot. So one morning, I felt a huge heartache. And it took me by surprise because my son was now leaving to go solo traveling for a few weeks and then to come back and pick mum up and bring her back home. And my brother and I took him we were in Chamonix, we took him to the bus stop. He was going to get the bus to Geneva Airport and then go from Geneva Airport to Prague, etc., etc. And when I said goodbye to him and he hopped on that bus, I wasn't worried about him. He's more than capable. So it wasn't coming from that place. I wasn't in fear, but my heart ached. And, you know, I think it's just that mother connection. Like my son, he went to Bali for schoolies after he finished year 12 last year. My heart didn't ache like that. I feel it's probably because he was going with friends, but this time, oh my goodness, my heart ached. It literally ached. And I said to my brother, wow, my goodness, my heart is hurting. And it was hurting so much that I felt like I really had to move. I needed to move to be with this energy and then to allow the energy to release. And so I took myself into the forest and literally walked around and around and around. And I had my phone and I couldn't write my notes to self, but I was in a stream of consciousness, you know, both in my humanity and also in my connection to beyond. And I was voice recording out my notes to self, which then became dictated, you know, into notes. And I heard the words, you know, when I was really connected, I heard God command me. Now, this is not the first time that I've been commanded and demanded by God. That's the reason why the Sacred Leadership Program was birthed in 2023. But I heard God command me, claim your place and stand tall. Claim your place and stand tall. It was a force. It came through like a force. And then that took me down to a place of actual honesty that I'd not reached into until that moment, walking around the forest in Chamonix. And the realization that I had from this place of honesty that I'd not experienced about this was this. I think probably, I'm not sure, but I think probably for the last 4 years, not that I knew this, I only saw this in the forest, I've become shy on particularly Facebook. Facebook for me, back when it first started, back when pages, not personal pages, business pages were freely shared and, you know, the algorithm was generous. It went to a lot of people back in those days, which is a long time ago. Because I've always loved to write, I shared my writings. Used to be called the Dare to Be Remarkable page. Now it's called From My Heart to Yours, but I don't use it now because it doesn't go anywhere. I just write on my personal page sometimes. So I used to write just because I'm a sharer and I love to share. And then in 2013, I decided to put an offering to that writing. And then miraculously, magically, 2 people messaged me that night. I messaged them back. I was connected to my intuition, and they signed up to what was then a 6-month program at $10,000. That had never happened before. And then I was on a roll. I was on a real roll, and I stood loud and proud, and I shared what I knew, what I'd come to know. I shared my leadership. And that's how clients came to me. And then from then, I was so gratefully graced by referrals from the people that I was working with. But probably, as I said, I think it's about a 4-year timeline, the last 4 years. I've become shy. I've become embarrassed, and I've even apologized, had this energy of apology for showing up on Facebook, which I haven't very much. Why? There's a few reasons, and I'm going to speak to 2 of them. So the first reason is that, my personal community here at home, with the kids going to school and them being involved in sports, and then me also being involved in soccer, my personal community grew a lot here. I have the most beautiful friends. I never expected, I was happy with the friends that I had. I never expected to grow this beautiful friendship community that I know will be in our lives, forever. Some of them feel like family friends now. But the thing is, most of those people aren't into this kind of world. And so there are times where I've wanted to write, and then I've thought of someone, I thought, oh, what are they going to think of me? And then so I got embarrassed. And so either if I did share, it had that energy of embarrassment behind it, or I didn't share a lot. So that was number one. Number two, and this one's a big one. So number two is that, when I stood loud and proud, when I didn't care what people thought, and I was just in the joy of sharing, in the natural joy of sharing, I was really proud about some of the results that happened for people, like so proud. As I said before, beyond what I ever had expected, anticipated, like totally bending reality. And one of those realities that we bended were that a lot of the people that began with me, when they first began with me, were on antidepressants. Sometimes I knew, sometimes I didn't know. And it's not because I ever said, you need to get off antidepressants. I never once gave that advice, ever. I never even spoke to the fact that they were on antidepressants. But they would then tell me, I have taken myself off my antidepressant medication. Now, I want to say this. Every single one of those people is still continuing to thrive physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Every single one of those people who came off antidepressants are continuing to thrive mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Back then, when I was in so much joy about that I could see that they'd come to a level of such self-trust that they didn't require that medication anymore, that they valued themselves, that they didn't require that medication anymore, and also that they weren't afraid of their emotional state, because they knew that emotions actually held in a paradigm of love actually are having intelligence to them, and for us to work with the intelligence of them rather than dull them or make them wrong. So I would share sometimes about these experiences. Now, I got slammed. I got slammed by strangers writing comments. I got slammed by friends who made comments or who called me and wanted to speak with me and tell me that I was irresponsible. And I now look back in retrospect, and being slammed like that made me have my tail between my legs. And, I had some really filthy stuff written even from people, like, I can't believe it. Like, I remember somebody that I went to high school with, just filth. So yeah, so I have been embarrassed, I've been shy, I've cowered, I've had my tail between my legs. And no more. When I would share on Facebook, especially I should say the moment that I started attaching offerings to the posts, I had reached a place within myself that I didn't actually care what people thought of me. They could think that I'm weird, that I'm annoying. They could have all sorts of judgments about me, and I actually didn't care anymore. Well, just like my clients experience about the power of contrast from fear to faith, and we can't know faith without fear, I've just experienced contrast again for myself. And the contrast is that, people's opinions of me is none of my business. And thanks to hearing God command and demand me, claim your place, stand tall, claim your place. I am. And in addition to that, I've gone back to my roots, which is I'm only sharing because it's an act of self-expression. I'm sharing to express myself. If anything happens as a result of that, fantastic. If it doesn't, the act of self-expression is enough. And so I'm very grateful for the rawness and the ache and the emotion and the laughter that I wet my pants a few times, and the sadness and the grief and the heartache. I am so grateful for that. I'm so grateful to have stepped away from my regular life, to have been able to hear the command, to be able to see with more honesty about who I had been showing up as on social media. I am so grateful. I recorded a meditation like I have never recorded before. So self-expressed, like I can't tell you, I've never heard that voice before. I recorded it for the sacred leaders, and I had our first September group call with them on Tuesday, and I shared the meditation with them. And I had a message from someone afterwards say to me, I've never, really heard a rawness and vulnerability in your voice in that meditation. And it was like a newborn cry being released into the world, saying, here I am, and I have a lot to say. Oh, I can feel it now. And that's what that's the tone of that meditation. So before coming on and recording this podcast, I thought that I would share that with you. And if you would like a copy of that meditation, which is freaking raw and has a cry of a baby released into the world, claim your place, stand tall. Reach out to me and I'll share it with you personally. And don't forget my best year yet. Unforgettable. This is the experience we will have. You will meet a you that you've not yet met before. You will break through thresholds and blind spots because they will show themselves. You'll have a freedom that is going to be made available to you that you've not yet experienced. And your movement, your action, your decisions, your choices, your visions will all be informed through this sacred and precious relationship that you're having with yourself through the commitment of writing. You don't have to be an excellent writer. You don't have to be an excellent writer. I'm going to be sharing about how you can get that out of you, how you can get your writing out of you. and it's going to be witnessed. Your writing is going to be witnessed. Some of those writings will be personal. I'm not going to share all my writings with that group, but I will share some of them. And there's power in being witnessed. And my intention, like all of my coaching programs, is that the most divine ecosystem, this will be the most divine ecosystem with the most perfect people. So if you're ready, take advantage of that pre-sale fee. I'm not holding back letting you know about that. My God, it's a drop in the ocean compared to what is going to be received. All right. Thanks for being with me. Ciao, ciao. Thank you for hearing me, listening to me. I hope that you got a lot from this episode. Please share it if you've got people in mind that you know this would be for. Thank you. Bye. Hey guys, if you love this podcast, I have 2 requests. Number 1, sign up to the newsletter, which you can find in the show notes. Sharing is one of my superpowers, and there is only so much that I can share through the medium of podcasting. And I have very big plans this year to be radically generous to you. So sign up to that newsletter where you'll be able to receive a whole lot more that I trust will be super valuable to you. And number 2, I'm a massive referrer of the people I love to the people I love. Please share this episode or podcast with the people you love, and let's create some more breathtaking ripples of impact.